So this video is going to help with questions 6 through 10. We're going to be talking about actually like what is the slope of this line and putting it in its simplest form. So the first thing you should always do, make a prediction. Is this thing going to be positive or negative or zero, undefined? What do we think? It's going up from left to right, like the way you would want to see your stocks going. So I'm predicting it'll be positive. Now, if you remember, slope represented by M, slope is rise over run. So rise, right? You have these two dots here that fit sort of perfectly right on the graph, right? Meaning they cross like the grid at a perfect point. Now I'm going to see my rise just relates to how much I'm rising. So I'm going to start with this bottom dot and count my way up. 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So if I were walking to my friend's house, I'd be going up 4. So my rise is 4. And then my run, 1, 2, 4 over 2 would be my slope. But of course, it says give your answer in simplest form. 4 over 2 is just 4 divided by 2, which is 2. So for this example, my answer is 2. But what I do see a lot of sometimes is students say, I don't know which dot to start from. It truly does not matter. Let's say I started with this dot here, right? And then I say, okay, rise over run. Well, I'm going down 4, which would be a -4 rise. And then I'm going back 2, which would be a -2 because you're going backward 2. What's a negative divided by a negative? A positive. So negative divided by a negative becomes a positive. 4 divided by 2 is 2. So either way, you're getting your answer a 2. It does not matter which point you start from. Okay, so make a prediction. What do you guys think? Is this going to be positive, negative? What are we looking at? It's going down from left to right. Not the way I would want to see my stocks go. So I'm going to predict that this thing's going to be negative. And let's be sure. I'm going to start here. My rise, well, my rise is really like a fall. So I'm going down 2. And then my run is 1, 2, 3. So my run, I went 3 in the positive x direction, giving me -2 over 3, which is, of course, the same. A negative divided by a positive, this becomes the same as just like the whole fraction being negative. Any way you do put it into Edulastic, it'll come out, but technically the whole fraction is negative if you have one negative part. But let's see. I didn't start with this dot. Let's say I started with this one. Oops. I started with this one, right? My rise, I go up 2, which is now a positive. And then I go back 3, giving me 2 over -3, which again, a positive divided by a negative just makes the whole fraction negative. So either way, no matter what point you start at, you're good. That is a negative fraction, which is what we predicted. So for this one, I fall 1, and then go +1 in the x direction, right? So my rise was negative, giving me a slope of -1. But some of you might have chosen to start with the other dot. Starting here, you rise 1, so +1, and then you go backward 1, -1, giving me a final slope. Positive divided by a negative is a negative. 1 divided by 1 is 1. So either way you go, you're good. Your slope is -1. Okay, making a prediction. This should be positive. Let's start here. Slope, rise over run. My rise, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I have a rise of 5 and a run of 1, 2, 3. 5/3. Now, of course, had you gone the other way, that's cool too. We would have fallen 5 and gone backward 3. -5 over -3 Negative divided by negative makes a positive, so that whole fraction is positive. So this would be your final answer. Let me be clear. Like, I just mean either way you go, it's going to be a positive 5/3. Okay, so for one like this, make a prediction. 0, right? Right? Because let's see. I'm going to explain why. Your slope, your rise over run, if I was like going from here to here, how much do I rise? I don't. I rise no units. But if I'm running 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 0 divided by 5 is 0, which is why any slope horizontal is 0, because you're not rising anywhere. Okay, so this one, right? I've got rise over run. I'm making my prediction. Run. Oh my gosh. Oh. Anyway, rise over run, right? Undefined. And this is why. If I rise 1, 2 units, but what's my run? My run is 0. And if you put 2 divided by 0 in a calculator, you are going to get an error message because you can't divide by 0. You can't. It can never happen. It's undefined. I think Einstein said black holes are where God divided by 0, whether or not you believe, but that's what Einstein said, right? So, right, you can't put two things into no piles. It's undefined, doesn't work.